Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, senior Lakers insider for Clutch Points. Joined on this fine, well, extra fine, Tuesday night. It's Tuesday, right?
It is.
By Raj Shapalu. That is Raj Shapalu, that voice over there that you heard. The Lakers just played in a preseason game. We got to see Luka Doncic. We got to see Austin Reeves. Then for some reason, they decided to sit Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jackson Hayes. So that was a decision that could have been made. And then the Lakers proceeded to go out and lose to Prescott University. As the Phoenix Suns, who had just gotten back from China, looked sharper for honestly most of the game. So we'll talk about the good, which is Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Those guys look really, really good, dominant individually. And then we will talk about some of the bad, right, which was a lot of turnovers, sloppy play. That's kind of to be expected. We'll talk about that. And then we will talk about the ugly, which is, I don't know. I just didn't like their approach to this game. So, we'll, a lot to get to here in over the course of this one. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button to those of you who are watching live on YouTube right now. If you guys are on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. And then if you guys are listening to this in the morning via pod, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, because I'm a company man. Raj, where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to start with Luka Doncic. I think because Austin Reeves we've seen in preseason already, right? We saw him kind of get his offensive shot going, run the pick and roll, look very decisive and very confident. But Luka Doncic looked like he's in February, March form. I mean, just zero. Like he had nothing that wasn't going for him. His shot was falling. The pump fakes were there. Much more basketball rhythm than I expected. Came out very aggressive, got an and one right away, and just looks like you can list the best players in the world: Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis. Whoever you want to put there. The guy we saw tonight,
Jared Butler.
Jared Butler, yes, yeah, for this game. But yeah, no, he looked like a guy that's going to be able to be contending for best player in the world, and the Lakers need it. LeBron will be out for extended amount of time, but just seeing Luka, skinny Luka, right, in purple and gold. This is the first skinny Luka in purple and gold that we got to see.
No, they wore the banana yellows tonight, right? Didn't they?
Oh, well, I mean, just playing in a Laker jersey.
Well, no, the reason I say that is because that's like the less flattering
I see. Oh,
jersey
for
that
him,
they have.
correct.
Like
Yes,
tonight
last year.
tonight they wore their banana yellow jerseys, and there were times last year where Luka was wearing that. I was like,
it's not that it's not the best fit.
Yeah,
With the shape, yeah.
Maybe wear a bigger undershirt. Can the undershirt become an overshirt?
Yeah, I don't think it was the undershirt. but no, he looked incredible, and it's good to, just see that again when you have a top 3 to 5 player on your team, it just raises the floor of everything else. Your margins get wider, right? The Lakers were up 14, 15 points, and it really didn't feel like we were playing very much defense at all. We weren't really stopping anybody, and yet we had 66 points or something at the half because of how explosive he is and how explosive Austin is. So Luka looks like Luka Doncic, which is kind of the first bar in anything you talk about this team. Luka Doncic needs to be the superstar that he is, and he was tonight.
Yeah, like Luka looks so good and it looks so easy that it almost like set a tone. You know how sometimes teams were like, you knew that they were going to play down to their opponent. That's one thing.
Sure.
But when they're scoring the ball a little too easily, they'll just be like, "Oh, it's one of those nights. We'll just outscore them tonight."
Yeah.
And it just felt like, and look, there there were times where I think the Lakers are just rather unathletic, right? There's a lot of white guys on the court tonight. You know, there were Luka, Austin, Laravia lineups. There were Luka, Austin, Dalton lineups. There were Austin, Delta, Laravia lineups. Like that's a lot of white guy, and you're going to be a little slow when those are the combinations that you have out there. Um, but one thing that I think the Lakers did to mitigate against some of the lack of athleticism or the lack of foot speed is create a quick advantage and then put Phoenix in the blender. And you saw a lot of swing passes and a lot of open jumpers. I really like watching Laravia shoot. Just feels like the ball kind of floats out of his hands, kind of like it
Yeah.
like simultaneously explodes out of his hands, but also is like soft, you know. So I think his high release and quick release, I think is, we talked about this when they acquired him. That's something I was kind of looking forward to. That's been confirmed. I think he will be. One thing I was listening to Woike on with Lowe, and I've been of the opinion, and this was speculation on my part. I honestly haven't asked anybody about it, but I thought it was basically like the final starting gig was going to come down to Vanderbilt and Smart while LeBron is out.
Mhm.
Um,
With Rui as a starter, correct?
Rui's starting. Yeah, Rui's the fourth starter, and then
Right.
the final starting spot would go to either Vando or Smart. But Woike actually said that he thinks it'll come down to Vanderbilt or Laravia.
Mm.
That feels like quintupling down on a skill set that the Lakers don't need there. Like you need Vanderbilt's athleticism there or Smart's defense there. They don't need Laravia's skill set in that starting group. But
Yeah.
that's my opinion personally. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've been kind of fascinated by Laravia's fit, and this is one of the disappointing things about preseason to me, Anthony, is I get like I don't want to do the when I was growing up thing, but I remember when I was growing up, there was you would ask the coaches about preseason. And I'm sure JJ still feels this way if he had his choice, and he said that in post game and after practice, but usually they would say, yeah, the final 2 to 3 games would be a dress rehearsal, right? Like we would get 2 to 3 games of rotations that are real, like real
You would
plays that are
you
putting.
it would be the third to last and second to last games
Yes,
were your dress rehearsal games. And then you would kind of rest up for the final preseason game
right.
and be ready to go by the time you go for, by the time you get to opening night.
Right, and I think we're just in a other teams are playing their starters more, but I still feel like just as a whole, where preseason now just isn't what it was before. Where a lot of this is really just an extended practice instead of real basketball run because the 82 game season is so long now that teams have kind of realized that they can kind of use the first week or whatever to try and actually, kind of make up some of that. But no, your thing about Laravia, it's really interesting. I think with LeBron, it's a different question without him. I do like he's the most fluid to me off dribble handoffs, off ball plays, right? You talked about the fluidity in his shot. That kind of transfers to me, not only with that, JJ has talked about Ayton as a hub, as an offensive player, and guys kind of cutting and screening off of him. And Laravia, you'll find, is really good at that. A lot of back cuts that he finds. You talked about the swing stuff, and it's just nice to have a guy when that swing happens that you're like, oh, that's a good shooter that's getting that swing, right? They had a play today where Luka, Austin, and Laravia were in transition, and I think it ended up with Laravia in the corner for 3. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that is beautiful. With I think Ayton was rim running. I don't remember where Smart was on this play, but I was like, that is I think the fit that Laravia can bring. So I think the battle between him and Vando is super interesting. Like if Laravia can survive defensively enough, I do think he's kind of has a shot at it. I'd be shocked if he's the starter day one within that group, but I think his skill set can fit if the Lakers can, survive enough on the defensive end. But I'm with you. They need a point of attack, aggressive defender at that spot, most likely, which again puts it at Marcus Smart or Vanderbilt. But those are the kind of interesting things I think, at least with Laravia for now. I've liked him the fit around him. It's been interesting because he's played the most. I think him and Aiden have played the most preseason games. And it's been a lot of players that have played next to him that he won't play with in a week. So it's been tough to kind of gauge him and Aiden's performance overall.
Laravia consistently has been a positive plus minus guy.
Yeah.
All preseason. And obviously plus minus is kind of a flawed stat, and obviously individual plus minus is a super flawed stat. But you do note trends.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think he's one of those connectors who I think the Lakers are just gonna. He's every year I kind of envision who the plus minus darlings are going to be. The nth degree example of that was I thought heading into the season that Alex Caruso was going to be one of those plus minus darlings, and he wound up being I think he's still to this day the highest net rating teammate of LeBron's, like when the two of them are on when the two of them are on the court at the same time. And I think Laravia is going to be one of those guys this year where the Lakers just so happen to outscore their opponents by more when he's on the court. I'm actually kind of curious eventually if it becomes like when LeBron comes back, if it eventually becomes a competition between Laravia and Rui. But that'll be something to keep an eye on.
So really quickly on Laravia, I want to ask him about this, and I don't know if you've noted, if you went and looked at this. His numbers last year from three are super interesting. His just overall shot chart is interesting. He shot 94% of his shots were at the rim or were in the paint or from beyond the arc, but he shot 102 threes from above the break, which is like at the top of the key. I find that super interesting. That's almost all of his threes come from the top of the key. And I don't know if he was playing a bunch of post players where he was the post entry guy, but I find that super interesting. He shot 38 corner threes, shot 102 from the top of the key, which is kind of seen as the toughest three. He shot around 40% on that. So I'm super interested in his shot profile because I think the Lakers are expecting obviously more volume and the efficiency to stay there. That's something I'll be kind of monitoring as he goes. But interesting fit for sure between him and Rui and Vando and Smart.
Yeah, I think part of the explanation for that is like you were talking about with the dribble handoff stuff. He also just has such a quick release that
That's a good point. Yeah.
With that shot, you're usually because when somebody takes a corner three, the expectation is that shot's going up,
Sure.
But when you're above the break, you have more options. You're usually in a much more aggressive stance, and usually, you're kind of looking to attack there. And I think they're because of that, you have that opportunity for the defense to be a little bit more on their heels because they're not anticipating a shot there. When you have a high, quick release like Laravia's, you're going to feel a lot more wide open from those spots than you would necessarily from the corners at times. So, and he's a big dude. He's got a smooth handle to him. I could see him preferring to attack from the baseline when teams really close out hard to him, and then take advantage of the inverse of that, where the closeout stops a little short, with the anticipation being that guys don't take those shots. So yeah, if you do ask him about it, make sure to clip it. I want to go back to Luka because I was hoping to see a little bit more Luka Austin stuff today. It was a lot more your turn, my turn, felt like, than I was kind of hoping to see. Essentially, it's one of those things, and to your point a second ago, with how long it's taken to get him on to the court, this was it felt like his first preseason game, right? It felt like he was kind of easy. He just played really bleeping well, and he shot the ball really well. Yeah. So it didn't feel like it in that sense, but in terms of the stuff that was implemented around him and the effort and intensity out there, it felt like he was kind of easing himself into this deal. And I wonder if some of that kind of extended to the strategic options that the Lakers were getting to in this too, in that meaning what they weren't running in this case with him in Austin. Because that is one of those things when both of those guys are on the court together. I just think that Austin can make Luka's life a lot easier in ways that he had actually made LeBron's life a lot easier over the last couple of years, right? So, bringing the ball up, getting Luka the ball at like the pinch post, and making him that hub as we saw him with Slovenia at times, like those are some things that I would have liked to have seen over the course of the preseason, and now we have to kind of hope that they can implement that on the fly in
Yeah.
the regular season. What were you expecting from Luka and Austin tonight?
Yeah, we did get one Luka Austin kind of mini pick and roll. It was at the end of, I believe, the first quarter or the second quarter. I don't remember. But the Phoenix just switched it and it led to like a Luka jab step three. I think this is just the way they're going to play. Again, I think a lot of times you don't really see people who are ball handlers screen for each other because other teams switch it so
Mhm.
often that they'd rather kind of run it with the big. I don't think that's an excuse not to have actions where both of them are
The difference
involved.
is the size difference, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
like with Austin, the guy who's guarding Austin tends to be one of the smaller guys on the court. So you can't just switch that guy onto Luka.
Well, that's what happened in the second quarter, right? I believe Austin was guarded by, I don't remember the exact player, but I think it was a matchup that Luka liked, and they knew they would switch it. Luka got the switch he wanted. Didn't really get to the shot I'm sure he wanted. The clock was kind of dwindling down, but I do think that's kind of a start. At least seeing Luka set a screen, first of all, I think is a start
Yeah.
as well. Just
Yeah.
getting that going. But I mean, we gotta also be real. This is how Luka Doncic plays basketball, and this is how Austin Reeves is going to play basketball, and the way that kind of is going to coexist best. I think turn-based kind of has a negative connotation to it, right? I think that's the way it can be framed. I think the way that they're looking at it is we have two explosive guards that you have to deal with on the pick and roll, and when they create advantage, now you have to defend the other one while the defense is already rotating. I thought we saw bits and pieces of that where Luka and Aiden would have in action, kind of force the defense to come in the paint, and you got a nice kick out to Austin where he was able to drive or take advantage. So I think that's what you'll look like. What it'll look like. It's gonna be tough to kind of implement a lot of kind of complicated actions right now, as you said, because the preseason just started for Luka, and we have one game left because they're not going to play a back to back. There's just no chance that any of those guys are playing tomorrow.
Yeah, I
So
think JJ said that they're going to flip it. So the guys who didn't play tonight are going to play tomorrow, and the guys who did play tonight
all right, yeah,
are not going to.
okay,
Here's the thing, too, by the way. The Lakers controlled this. Like, the
sure.
Lakers chose to have a back-to-back in the preseason. It's like, anyway, I know you guys are like sick of me talking about like the preseason and how disappointed I've been with the preseason and stuff. Like, but just so much of it didn't make any sense. Hasn't made any sense, Like, all right, you're on the second night of a back to back. Why does it matter that the half of the guys who need to be set up are going to play tomorrow? Why does that matter? Just fart away the game tomorrow if you're going to have like get your dress rehearsal in tonight and then have nobody play tomorrow and then have another like first half dress rehearsal in the final game. You seeing as you had to wait, or you chose to wait so long to get Luke out there. It's just, I don't know. It's been a weird preseason and training camp. I do think that like they are taking advantage of their practice time. Like I have
Yeah,
seen improvement from game to game, that I think is a result of efficient and effective practice time. So like I would say that's been good to watch, but I just don't, the scheduling here doesn't make any sense. Like the Lakers always play 6 preseason games. It's extra revenue that the Lakers can generate. I do find myself wondering if that is part of their agreement with Spectrum, because that Spectrum contract is so expensive that like they're like, okay, every year we promise we'll play as many preseason games as we can. Some of it is out of their control, and in years that they go and play internationally, that wasn't the case this year. And you still played 6 preseason games. You still have a back-to-back during preseason, and you also played preseason games as early as you could, which those games were kind of waste because the Lakers hadn't implemented anything when they actually played those games. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a weird schedule from managing individual play. It's been a weird schedule heading into it when, in terms of how they actually literally scheduled the games.
Mhm.
And now you're arriving at like, it just feels like, you remember being in college, right, Roz? So it's like it just you tell yourself, all right, this is the test I'm not going to procrastinate for. This is the project I'm not going to procrastinate for. And like my father-in-law, who went on to be like a veterinarian and stuff like that, was much better in school than I was. He always said like he never studied the night before the test because he had done all of his studying before,
Sure.
and like cramming the night before the test doesn't actually do very much for you. And like when they do try to like have a dress rehearsal in their final preseason game, it's going to feel like cramming right before the test when you didn't have to. You didn't have to do all of this, whether because of scheduling, whether because of guys who you held out or didn't hold out. Like it this feels like a spot that they're putting themselves in that could have been avoided.
Yeah, I think
Outside of
again that
LeBron stuff, obviously he's hurt, so we won't count that.
sure. And look, LeBron being out, I'm sure is calculated through all this, right? The calculation is different probably if he's healthy and there's a different type of reps that you want to get. But with him out, I think the trade-off that they're making is, hey, let's just get everybody healthy to this game one, right? No nicks and bruises, no one's dealing with an ankle thing. If you have even even if you have even the slightest feel of something, just take precaution. I thought it was great that I was at the game. I forgot what day it was already, but Austin kind of looked like he got shaken up driving against Pods, and he already, he was like, I'm fine. I'm suiting up again. I'm gonna play tonight. I thought that was great to see that, there's a level
Yeah.
of urgency at least there from him to get those reps with Luka, because he could have easily sat out this game as well, right? That could have easily been told as the reasoning. So I think and if you look at the check marks of stuff JJ has talked about last year, that they went a little too hard in preseason. There's some of that being calculated in this too. But Vando looks the healthiest that he's been, and I'm sure that's something they'd love to bottle up and run with and take as long as they could. Marcus Smart played his first game tonight, didn't take a shot, but I thought looked like at least he was moving like the guy I want to see, was super active with his hands. You mentioned that there wasn't a real Phoenix team on the other side, but I did think that he at least showed some of the defensive stuff that we're looking for from him. And yeah, the Lakers, I mean, there's no getting around. They're going to have to adjust. They're going to be behind the 8 ball from a roster kind of gelling standpoint, but they have been practicing a lot. And again, I think these games are practice extensions instead of, regular season live reps as they used to be. And so that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. But I love what I saw from Luka and Ayton as a pairing. Austin and Ayton, I feel like, have found some things. This starting lineup tonight was super interesting to me, with Marcus Smart as the third guard, which still looked a little clunky offensively, but I liked having a guy that just is a bother on the defensive end. So there was some good stuff. It's definitely some questionable stuff in terms of process wise in the preseason. But Anthony, if all these guys minus LeBron are fully healthy to start the regular season next week, I'll take it. I'll take it, because it's been a while since we've had that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they're managing some of these guys as if they're a lot older and more fragile than they actually are. Vando, I get being kind of cautious with because he literally hasn't been healthy at the beginning of a season. So okay, you manage him a little bit differently.
Sure.
Um, I like tonight was the first night that Rui sat out, so I'm not going to overreact to Rui choosing that. LeBron is literally hurt, so there's nothing you can do about that. But waiting
Right.
so long to get Luka a look in the preseason, I don't know, man. He's 26. Like
Yeah.
I also just think like um we're talking like you saw the level of effort that Luka played with tonight, especially defensively tonight. You're telling me he couldn't have done that earlier? Like he
Right.
spent the whole like every time Phoenix had the ball, like you could, they have those trackers of like how far players run, and stuff like that. I would love to know Luka's number tonight. Like
On the defensive end. Yeah. No, it was it felt very much like pickup style eventually after the Lakers went up big. It definitely felt like some pickup style basketball. But again, you ask them and they go, Luka had a long summer, right? Played in Eurobasket, played competitive basketball in Euro. Like, that those weren't just exhibition games. Those were serious contests. And I'm
so
sure, and
Jokic, so Chingun, so
sure.
Giannis.
Sure, I'm I'm giving their reasoning, and I'm sure Luca has a huge burden, as all those stars do. And again, I just think this has been kind of a league wide. Just watching these other preseason games, Anthony, like the only serious one I saw was Clippers Nuggets, which is going
Well,
on
how
with
dare you? Because Ahmed Thompson just tried to beat the shit out of Jose Alvarado
that
tonight.
that wasn't really from team to team competition. That felt more personal. That was more one on one. Felt
I was like, because every major aggregation account always does that thing where like the verb has to be in caps, right? So like I forget which account tweeted it out. It was like Ahmed Thompson just tried to knock out Jose Alvarado, and I was like, okay, it can't really. Holy shit! Ahmed Thompson actually tried to knock out Jose Alvarado. Whoa. Okay.
It's
So
like the
yeah,
YouTube thumbnail where it's like he tried to destroy him, and you click on the video, and it's like a little push. It's like
yeah, right. But this time I was
no,
like,
this
oh
one was
damn, he
real. Yeah,
actually did. Like he was
yeah,
actually going. It was not
yeah.
that was not an NBA fight. Like it was so violent by NBA standards that Isaiah Stewart was like, damn it, I missed it. Like
On a whole other team. Yeah, it's not even in the
he
building at
just
all.
yeah. He's gonna show up to practice tomorrow and punch somebody because he missed out on tonight's fight. Um, I want to. I want. That dude is deranged. I want to talk about Austin.
Have you seen? Wait, have you seen it? He has like a compilation with like 30
It's
guys.
crazy.
It's
He's been in
nuts.
the league for like 2 or 3 years.
It's like a whole roster.
Bill
Just
Lambier is like, dude, chill, calm down.
Draymond's like, you gotta relax, man. It's
Yeah, dude.
too much. Yeah.
Draymond's like trying to teach him what like a usual like motion looks like, shooting motion looks like. Isaiah Stewart's like, no, fuck that. I just punch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. I gotta talk about Austin. I want to talk about Austin and he continues, Raj, to look at least offensively. I think defensively there are some like concerns there if he's going to be the primary point of attack defender or whatever. But we knew that those were going to be the concerns anyway. But his like stat lines from these games have been pretty ridiculous, right? Tonight was his worst shooting night of the preseason, and he went 8 of 16. 7 of 8 from the free throw line. He's getting to the free throw line a bunch.
Yeah.
Scored 25 points tonight. I think all of the games he has been at or above 20 points. The one thing that I've really noticed from him is the off the dribble 3-pointer looks a lot easier, right? Like we talked about how easily the ball seems to leave Jake Laravia's hands. He's a huge human being, so it kind of makes sense. One of the things that I reported heading into training camp was how Austin had put a lot of work in on his body to try to get stronger, and especially at the base, so that the shot can be that much quicker, more naturally. And part of the other reason too was to be a little bit better defensively. We'll see kind of like what that looks. when the whole team starts trying to play defense. I've been pretty disappointed with the Lakers' defensive intensity basically all preseason. But Austin looks really effing good. And again, I'll go back to what Wojcicki was kind of talking about, because he reported previously that there could be $40+ million offers coming Austin's way if Team X decides that he could be the primary offensive engine for them. I don't know that I would, obviously this isn't something that the Lakers are worried about because they have Luka. He doesn't have to be their offensive engine, but I actually think like we might be looking at another real step forward for Austin this upcoming season. And
It
this is
feels
why,
like
by the way, all right, I'm going to be consistent. I've shit on the Lakers for their approach to preseason to this point. Austin has actually, I think, really gotten something out of preseason by playing hard in because like JJ said that they were monitoring who was doing what, and that Austin was beating everybody in terms of the amount of work that he was putting in these practices. He has played in, I think, all but like maybe one or two of these games right in preseason. Like Austin's approach to preseason is how I wish the Lakers would have approached preseason.
right. He looks kind. You know how in summer league we do this thing where your young guy should look better than the competition, right? Like if you have a first rounder or any player that's a second year guy, you go, the only thing you want to see, you don't care about the score, you don't care about winning. Does my second year guy look like he's too good for summer league?
Yeah.
I feel that kind of way for these young stars that are kind of on that want to take this extra leap into the star, quote unquote, being called stars. You kind of want to see them look too good for preseason. And Austin's kind of looked too good for preseason. I think that's kind of what you want to see, where you go, okay, I've seen enough. Like he looks like the guy that we're expecting. Anthony, second half of last season, 22 a game on, just about 50, 40, 90. He shot about 48 from the field, but pretty close to it. And a lot of high volume threes. This is who he was the second half of the year. And he looks stronger. He looks, I don't know if it's like what I'm seeing maybe in person. He looked a little bit faster too. It's strange. He put on strength, yet he looks quicker with the basketball, looks a lot more decisive coming off pick and rolls. He's added a like bump off mid-range shot. Like he's always liked the mid-range shot, but he's like he had one against Pods and he threw Pods like 3 feet back on a play. And I thought kind of showed the strength that he's added. But Austin looks awesome. It's why I think Luka and Austin are gonna, kind of play this style where both of them get to run the show and are obviously going to be staggered with the way the team is set up. But no, Austin looks like he's in midseason form. We should have one of the most explosive backcourts in the league, if not the most explosive. Like you can obviously go around the league, probably Mitchell and Garland's another one off the top of my head. I can't really, think of others, but Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves is a super explosive backcourt that teams are going to have to deal with. You throw Ayton in there, and I think the Lakers are going to be a really good offensive team. I think to the concerns that you have, and I think I do, are defensively. But no, Austin looks like he's like that second half was not, a fluke. This is what he's become. And this idea, because I've seen it in my replies, that he was going to just go stand in the corner while if LeBron was healthy and Luka was healthy, Luka is healthy, but if LeBron was also here, that he'd go back to this connector role where he's waiting for the ball, playing out of, these drives that they're creating. He's crossed that threshold where he's now a guy that's going to be super relied on for playmaking. And I think his passing has improved, skip passes, just the decision making has gotten so much better, I feel like, than it was even, in the second half of last season when he took that leap. So Austin looks like a star, man. And, hopefully LeBron gets back so we can kind of see the whole trio. But Luka and Austin should be a hell of a duo to deal with.
Now, I will say this. I see the chat, and there's a lot of concern over the point of attack defense, right? Schmicky is talking about point of attack defense, how that's a concern. I see people asking about the playoffs and how, that there has been a fall off eventually in these playoffs. Like those are fair concerns. When it comes to the playoffs, like look, if he falls off again in the postseason, then yeah, we do have to revisit that, and that will impact like what kind of an offer he gets. I am of the opinion though that like, look, the reports were that Austin got hurt in that series and was really kind of struggling physically through it. I think that needs to be taken into account. The defense, like the point of attack defense isn't a referendum on Austin. It's a referendum on this roster construction that they can't employ, that they didn't go out and trade for Wiggins, that they continue to think that Rui Hachimura is the answer when everybody is healthy as the fifth starter. That the only point of attack defender that they went out and got was a Marcus Smart who had just been bought out. And one of the guys who they utilized at the point of attack last year played against him tonight, looked pretty damn good in Jordan Goodwin. And they cut him, and got nothing in return for him. So like, I guess, yeah, it is fair to point out that, we sure wish that Austin was better at the point of attack. But if Austin was better at the point of attack, he would be a $70 million player. He would be a max player. The guys who think of this, Roz, this is what I said last year, and I'll say it again this year. How many guys in the NBA are the engine of their team's offense and also guard the other team's best player night after night after night after night? In the entire NBA.
I don't even think one player exists. Like, obviously, I think Anthony Edwards is probably a name that you can throw out there. That's closest. Yeah, that does it the most that I could think of off the top of my head. Giannis before, but he was never really on ball either. But obviously a defensive monster that also averages, what he does scoring wise. No, it's a tough thing. It's a tough ask. I think the league is too good. It's too taxing. Play styles are different now. The floor is spaced in a way where that's just a super taxing job for a guy to defend the way.
The guys that we're talking about, Raj, who did that, like that was a thing that existed in the 90s. Like Michael used to do that. Kobe used to do that eventually when he was in his prime. LeBron used to do that. You're talking about a handful of players who have ever had the ability and the athleticism and also the offensive skill and wherewithal to also be the engines of their team's offense. And like, yeah, Austin doesn't have to be his team, the offense or the engine of the Lakers offense all the time, because Luka's going to be out there some, but there are going to be minutes when Luka isn't out there, and you're now going to be asking Austin, who, by the way, came into the league undrafted and does have athleticism like limitations. Like, I'm sorry, if people are expecting him to be able to do that, that's kind of on them. Because like nobody does that. That player does not exist to the extent that people want Austin to exist. And if you're saying, well, just trade Austin for the point of attack defender, well, now you're going to take a major step back in terms of your offensive creativity for the sake of addressing a different hole. You're creating you're creating another one. So it's like, I don't know. I would rather try to find ways to make this work with Austin and with Luka by going out and acquiring a player who can fit alongside those guys or in between them, as a 2/3 or something like that, who can defend at the point of attack. That was supposed to be Marcus Smart, I thought, coming into the season. Maybe it's Vanderbilt, but this notion that like we're holding it against Austin that he's not a point of attack defender and offensive engine. I'm sorry, man. He's not prime Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I think Austin was the one is a player that was most impacted by not playing a center either, right? Because that forced a lot of isolation scoring, and Minnesota has a lot more wing defenders, to kind of throw at teams with, Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Anthony Edwards, right, which we mentioned. And so Yeah, I think that, you can fault him for that series for sure. That's also not the only series he's played on the Lakers. But in any case, I think you're right. This is a real leap that he's taken. And look, Luka and Austin are gonna have to be flanked by good defenders. Like they just are. That's just how this is how the backcourt is. Now the offense should be special enough. We saw it tonight. Again, we haven't gotten too deep into this, Anthony, but I think Ayton changes a lot. Like it's a really fascinating offensive fit. Now the bar isn't that high in terms of Jackson Hayes said it here, and like Ayton needs to be up here. But even within that context, I think Ayton makes this a super interesting offensive team where you can't just switch anybody on him. If you switch like tonight, we had obviously the Suns weren't playing. Although I think Malawak's going to be in their rotation. Like I don't think he's not going to play. Malawak, I think, is like a solid big for them. The number 10 pick from the draft.
No. I'm trying to think of their actual rotation and who he would be contending with. Is it Nick? What's the guy from Charlotte?
Oh, right, Nick Richards.
Yeah, Nick Richards. I think Malawak will probably be better than him by the end of the season. Be my guess.
It might be better.
I want to address this one more time. I'm sorry to keep on harping on this, but G Dog says this about Robert Horry and Byron Scott said in an interview a few days ago that defense wins championships. The funny thing about those two players that are listed there, Raj, is Robert Horry, not exactly known for defense. He was a stretch four who was probably ahead of his time. And the reason that he won so many championships was because the league hadn't quite figured out how valuable a stretch four was quite yet. And so, like, you put him on a team with like Shaq or with Tim Duncan, and all of a sudden defenses had to guard all the way out to the 3-point line. And holy shit, it's really difficult to guard out to the 3-point line with Robert Horry while also trying to contend with Tim Duncan or Shaquille O'Neal underneath. And wow, 5 rings or whatever, however many rings. Yeah, 7 rings that Robert Horry won. Byron Scott, right? Byron Scott would sub out and they would bring in the defensive presence for him. He would sub out. Michael Cooper would go and play at his position and guard the other team's best player. So it's like but like that doesn't make Byron Scott any less valuable. Byron Scott was one of the first players who used the 3-pointer as a weapon. And again, like the 3-pointer as a weapon, attacking the closeout because teams had to guard him at the 3-point line, and getting to the mid-range and elevating and taking a true like jumper and using that as a weapon. Like just because Byron Scott impacted the game on the offensive side of the ball didn't make him any less valuable in terms of like what that team needed. It just meant that he wasn't providing it. So like what the Lakers have to do here, and why I'm making these points with Austin, is because what Austin does is clearly very valuable. They just have to find somebody who can go out and bring what we wish Austin could do, but isn't actually equipped to do at the level that the Lakers need that box checked, right? Like Robert Horry was really, really valuable, but the Lakers also needed like a Horace Grant or an AC Green or, a Mark Madsen or somebody to go out there and really kind of be the physical presence that Robert Horry wasn't always. Byron Scott was a really valuable player, but the Lakers needed Michael Cooper to go out there and defend the other team's best players because that's not what Byron Scott was good at. The Lakers just went out and checked those boxes with other players. And that's all that I'm saying that the Lakers need to figure out a way to do with Austin Reeves, because he can't do those things.
Right. And again, you hope that some of this is on the roster now, right? You hope that, Vanderbilt can kind of play this way, can impact the game defensively. Marcus Smart can impact the game defensively. And Luka and Austin can be so good offensively that they can allow you to play these type of players that, are a little bit more offensively challenged. And that's the part that's interesting to me. Can you play Vanderbilt and Smart, and can their offensive kind of struggles be mitigated because of how much they're impacting on defense? But yeah, like Luke Austin's going to be a big part of this team, and like there's just not trading him for a point of attack defender. Like that's just I think that's a wild assertion that would make the team better. Now there's 2-way guys you want to go target, but to your point, those guys make $40 to $50 million. Like this is not a player that's on the market for that. But yeah, that's why, again, it's just difficult to gauge, because have not seen the full rotation. I've gotten bits and pieces. I've gotten halves here. I've gotten to see what Luka and Austin and Ayton look like now today. I've gotten a pretty good picture of Austin and Ayton together. I've liked what I've seen from Laravia, but I feel like I have a puzzle and 50 of the pieces are just scattered somewhere else. Like, we'll bring you the pieces later. It's like, well, I got the corners done, but like I have no idea how the middle looks yet. And that's what it feels like this preseason. So Friday, hopefully, you get the real thing, everyone available again tonight, 5 to 6 players that will just not be a part of the rotation at all, playing big minutes, running this type of stuff that we're running. And yeah, so we got tomorrow is going to be another look like just waste. No, I don't want to say wasted, but a game where it's going to be tough to take very much from. And then
What's the
Friday.
finesse version of wasted? Unused?
No, missed opportunity. Yeah. Not as opportunistic as it could be, but yeah, Friday hopefully we'll get the real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that, like, just really quickly before we get out of here, but it does matter a little bit that the Lakers lost this game tonight. Like, Luka played, Austin played, Ayton played, Dalton played, and Laravia played. Like, that right there is more legit NBA talent than Phoenix put onto the court. And the reason Phoenix was able to win this game was because they just played harder. And to me, like, the one of the lines that JJ Redick used, I think even heading into the preseason, was how, like, habits don't just happen. You don't just talk a habit into existence. A habit is something that you do over and over and over and over again. And one of the things that preseason that you hopefully build in preseason are those good habits of playing hard, valuing the basketball, rotating hard, playing physically, grabbing offensive rebounds, getting out and running if you want to be a running team. Like these habitual things that the Lakers are trying to build over the course of this preseason, they just haven't done. And I know that people think that I'm sitting here doing the Chicken Little thing, saying that the sky is falling. I'm not. All I'm saying is that, like, tonight I thought was pretty emblematic of a lot of the issues that I've had with the Lakers' approach to preseason, in that this, what would you call it, missed opportunity?
Missed opportunity, yes.
There have been so many opportunities missed in these preseason games to develop those habits that you get to this game. But the Lakers should have won going away. At one point, they were up by 15. This is clearly a just absolutely shorthanded Phoenix team that, again, just got back from China. Like, they're jet lagged and shorthanded, and they look so much fresher than the Lakers for so much of this game. And it's because those guys are hungry and they're trying to prove that they belong in the NBA. And I don't know. I think Jordan Ott has done a better job with his team this preseason than JJ has done with his. And it's like, at what point do we actually hold JJ accountable rather than listen to the excuses that he keeps on giving us after every single game for, like, hey man, at some point do your job. Like, at some point, yeah, you've been dealt a tough hand. People have to win tough hands in Texas Hold'em all the time in Texas Hold'em tournaments. That's part of it.
Yeah. I understand that, and again, I just don't think preseason is seen as it was before. And to your point, I think when we played our rotation guys tonight, as we should, we were up 15 or 16 at the half or whatever it was. In the second half, I mean, Luka played 5 minutes in the second half. Austin did play 11, which I think most of that was in the third quarter. But from there, Koloko played 15, Bronny played 14, and I'm Bronny minus 18 in that second half, Dalton minus 12.
Man, Bronny was a minus 24 tonight.
Yeah, I'm only looking at the second half, but the Lakers shot 2 of 15 from 3 in the second half. Just no real shot creation was going on. And again, like, this is a half of basketball that you should be hopefully having some reps that can pertain to the regular season. But if you go look at the lineups that played during that, not much to really take. I mean, I thought Dalton started to build a little bit of confidence on the offensive end. You could see him kind of his wheels turning a little bit on like getting in some offensive rhythm. But other than that, Anthony, second half, not much really to take because it felt like, again, a lot of South Bay guys going against whoever, Phoenix was putting out there besides, Malawak and Jared Butler. But yeah, again, this is why I hope, on Friday we get the real thing. I don't think they're going to play 48 minutes of a real thing, but can I get a half of basketball that makes some sense, lineups that make sense, 5-man groups that will play, the following game. And look at another team like the Warriors. The Warriors are playing their guys. Like,
that's what I said. Like, people keep on saying that, like, oh, it's preseason, it doesn't matter that much. Smart teams use every opportunity that they get to grow. Like smart teams, like the Denver Nuggets, right? Like you just said a second ago, they played an actual NBA game against the Clippers the other day.
Yeah, that felt like there was some bad blood on both ends that both teams wanted to kind of get out. No, that was a real game. You could have had no one in the building. That could have been an empty building with no scoreboard and no clock, and those two teams would have went at it.
And Isaiah Stewart would have been right there waiting to punch somebody.
Not even on the other of those teams. Like he's nowhere near that arena.
I think that's gonna be my bit this year. Isaiah Stewart's just fighting fools. Raj, anything else that you wanted to talk about before we get up out of here?
No, I'm excited for the season to start. And yeah, I'll be at the game on Friday. Hopefully get to ask some more basketball questions and things like that. But yeah, just very excited for the season to start and get some real stuff and real lineups. Rewatching these games have been pretty painful because not much really to take from it. So hopefully I get some real stuff to look at pretty soon.
Do you want to do this again tomorrow after tomorrow's game?
see how that game goes.
You want to record just during the second half?
It's like tip off. You just started
record like at tip. It's basically no, because the Dodgers don't play tomorrow, so we could just record during the game tomorrow.
Right? Yeah. Right at tip off. Yeah.
Yeah. Shouts to Yamamoto. Shouts to the Dodgers. They're up 2-0. This was the first time all season that I've thought to myself, like, holy shit, they could maybe do the thing. I don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to jinx it. But it's like,
I'll just say it's fun being a Dodger fan once a month out of the year. Like it's a very enjoyable experience. I highly recommend it. I don't watch any games in the regular season, but come October, you put a game on and they're just winning. Like it's a fun experience. So
I'm telling you, that was the first playoff complete game in a quarter century. What we saw tonight.
Okay.
From a Dodgers pitcher. That's just unbelievable what Yamamoto did. And what Blake Snell did the night before. 17 of the 18 innings that the Dodgers have been playing in this series, their starting pitchers have been dominant. And actually, what's funny with Yamamoto, the first pitch of the game was the only mistake he made all game. It was a home run. Like the first pitch that he threw tonight was a homer. Everything after that was just dominant stuff. It's just unbelievable. So freaking cool. All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that share and comment button. All of those good buttons. And until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Palu. This has been the Lakers Lounge podcast. Have a great rest of your nights, evenings, days, whenever you're watching this. Make somebody else's, and we will talk to you when we talk to you.
Bye, everyone.